Moses, in a reading a couple weeks ago, he said, "Would that all the people of the Lord were prophets." What's the role of a prophet? Prophet has two functions. Number one, to point out, to act as a liaison between God and the people. God talked to the prophets talked to the people talked to the prophets talked to God. Jesus came along, no longer necessary. God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit could talk to each one of us every day, all day long, if we just listen. Their second function was to point out the difference between the morals and values and principles of God or Jesus and the morals and values and principles of the predominant culture in which they lived. And they were very different, just as they are today. Just as they are today. They did it at the risk of their lives. There are no prophets among us anymore. So tell me, who is it that's supposed to be the prophets today? Take a wild guess. All of us. And how do you become a prophet? What do you have to do? Number one, you have to know the morals and values and principles of God, of Jesus Christ, intimately. You need to know them so well, in the same way a treasury agent who studies counterfeit dollars knows the dollar bill. He knows the paper, he knows the ink, he knows the printing, he knows that dollar bill so intimately that when he sees something that's different, it stands out. Secondly, you have to live it in your own life. And thirdly, you have to find godly men and women, locally, county-wise, state-wise, who believe in those Judeo-Christian principles upon which this country was founded and live it in their lives. You work for them, spend time for them, volunteer for them, donate to them, vote for them. If you can't find one, be one. Be one. The Holy Roman Empire failed for 4 reasons. Number one, they were not able to control their borders. Number 2, declining morals and values. Number 3, financial irresponsibility. And number 4, abuse of power. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? Again, who are to be the prophets today? All of us are to be the prophets today. You are the prophets who can return our country to the Judeo-Christian values and principles upon which our country was conceived and built. Alex de Tocqueville, a Frenchman, visited the United States in 1850, and he made the following observation. He saw a society in which religion was the first of its political and civil institutions. And it did 3 things. It strengthened the families. It taught moral values. And it encouraged active participation of the people in the government. Active participation. What happened? What happened? The First Amendment of the Constitution was not written to protect the people from religious freedom or values. It was written to protect our religious freedom and values from government tyranny. What is tyranny? Tyranny is arbitrary or unrestrained exercise of power, abuse of authority, oppressive or unjustly severe government. Pay attention. This is not about Republicans and Democrats. This is about Christians working together to return our country to the godly values and principles upon which this country was born and raised, and we existed for years. To return to us freedom, religious freedom, liberty, respect for godly principles, justice under God, and our individual given rights we as Christians cannot sit around and do nothing. Abraham Lincoln said the following: "You cannot help the poor by destroying the rich. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot bring about prosperity by discouraging thrift. You cannot further the brotherhood of man by inciting class hatred. You cannot build character and courage by taking away people's initiative and independence. You cannot help people permanently by doing for them what they could and should do for themselves." And finally, we make the statement, God is on our side. That's not the question. The question is this: are you on God's side? That's the question. That's the question. Why am I so passionate about this? I'm 80 years old. January 30th, I'll be 81. I remember a country, and many of you do too, that was defined by godly morals and values and principles, where people were kind to one another, people supported one another, people encouraged one another. I see now vitriolic division, politically, racially, religiously, in every way. It's shocking. I remember a kinder country that was governed by godly principles. I have 3 children. I was a single parent of 3 children. They're 49, 47, 45. I have 12 grandchildren. My heart aches for my grandchildren and your children living in this current environment. We as Christians cannot sit around and do nothing. Pray for wisdom. Pray for guidance. Pray for direction, and do what the Lord tells you to do.